Hey folks, I'm Mark Roberge, and this is The Science of Scaling, a podcast about how to scale your sales and revenue. We have another Q&A episode today, and as usual, my favorite producer, Matt Brown, is here to help. Matt, what's the question for today?
All right, so for today, we're talking about the marketing and sales teams. Specifically, what's your solve for a siloed marketing and sales?
Yeah, that's key. And that's one of those things that it's been broken for decades. We're getting better at it, and it's critical. You know, because when I go out and I've probably worked with 500 sales and marketing teams at least, between like all the sales we did at HubSpot and all the investments we've done at Stage 2 Capital. And, you know, I don't mean to offend anyone, but I think most folks would chuckle at this, that like sales and marketing leaders don't naturally get along. You know, like I think a lot of salespeople think that marketing does arts and crafts all day, and marketing think that salespeople are spoiled brats, you know, and they just like, that was how it was, you know, in the 90s or whatever. And that was fine because like marketing, they were doing like events, they were doing billboards, they were doing TV ads, print ads. But now we've been operating in this world where the buyer starts in a domain that's owned by marketing, email, online, social media, and progresses to a domain that's owned by sales, a Zoom call, an in-person meeting, demo, whatever. So if you don't figure this out, you're kind of cooked. And if you get this really going well, it's hard to do, and that's a competitive advantage, right? So like, just, it's an important question, Matthew, and it's one that, you know, we've been working on for some time and still have work to do. So let's get really tactical on, you know, how we solve it. The first step is we've got to get sales and marketing leadership in a room and agree on each other's responsibility. Okay, so that usually starts with, okay, we could probably attribute demand, like opportunities, sales, back to either marketing generated or sales generated. Now, we're going to have to come back to that because that can be complicated, but let's assume that we can get pretty close. Then now we can go into a quarter or a year or whatever period we're talking about and agree that this much pipeline and sales will come from marketing and this much will come from sales. So let's say it's 50-50. So we agree that half the pipeline is going to come from marketing. They're spending money on digital ads, content marketing, email, events, whatever. And then half of it's going to come from sales. And I like to put the SDR team in sales. Okay, so it's like SDRs that are cold calling, it's salespeople that are generating their own demand. Now we've got at least the starting point around a responsibility. Okay, so now we got to work on the marketing side. So, you know, what is a marketing qualified lead? Like, the sales and marketing person have to agree on that. And this is where like whoever they're reporting to, whether it's the CRO or the COO or CEO, they're going to have to do a little bit of mediation because they're both going to come up with a very self-serving definition, right? Sales is going to say, an MQL is a CEO of a Fortune 500 company that requests a demo on our website. Like totally unattainable, right? Look, they want the sale like handed to them on a platter. And marketing is going to say an MQL is anyone that fills out a form and gives us their email. Like that doesn't work either, right? So we have to have some parameters of what an MQL is. Now, here's a couple of guidelines on that definition. First off, I like an MQL definition where you can tell if the lead fits without talking to the contact. So where are they in the world? How big is their company? Employees, revenue, what sector are they in? You know, like these are things I can tell without talking to them. And oftentimes I can automate that with some of the data enhancement capabilities that are out there. something like, do they have a need for my product? I don't like that in MQL. Because it's like, that's just too hard for a marketer to get. It's like they can prospect to segments and regions, but that's our job in sales. And that's the definition between a marketing qualified lead and a sales qualified lead is once it's sales qualified, it means like, let's just focus on something as basic as BANT. Do they have budget? Do they have authority? Do they have need? Do they have timing? Like marketing can't control that. So that's what we have to figure out. And of course, we're going to have a fall off from MQL to SQL conversion. And that's just a reality. And that kind of goes into the math of like how we get to the contribution to pipeline and sales that marketing is going to do. Okay. The other mistake that is made by almost everybody still is they include role in the definition of MQL. Like the lead has to be from a VP or above. That's crazy. Because it's like almost every organization is generating leads from marketing, like you're largely inbound, and then from cold calling. And you're telling me that if a lead comes in from a perfect fit company based in New York City with 1,000 employees, and they're in the manufacturing sector, and that's a perfect company for you, and the intern downloads the ebook, that your sales rep is not going to call them, but instead they're going to cold call a bunch of people who've never heard of you. That is crazy. Who do you think told the intern to download the ebook? The boss of the boss of the boss of the boss. And that's our job, is to sell and talk to the intern and be like, you have a couple options there. You call the intern and say, hey, what do you need help on? Well, let me help you. And by the way, who told you to do this? And now you're off and running. Or just call the decision maker and be like, hey, we've been getting inbound inquiries from your company. I'd love to chat and find out what's going on. But either way, it's like to say, oh, it's not an MQL and we're not going to call it because it's not a VP or above. Doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, so now we've got a definition of MQLs, and we also have a quarterly target on marketing contribution. So now it's very clear at the end of the quarter, did they do it or not? It's a very clear definition that the VP of sales and the VP of marketing have agreed to. We don't get to the end of the quarter and be like, oh, we missed because it was marketing and the leads sucked and the salespeople suck. It's like, no, we agreed that marketing was going to generate 164 MQLs in the quarter. And if we stuck to our MQL to SQL conversion of 75% and our SQL to pipeline conversion of 50% and our pipeline to customer close conversion of 45%, then we're going to hit our number. So why did we beat the number or miss the number? Oh, our pipeline to customer close was lower. Okay, well, what's going on there? Or they didn't generate the MQLs that we promised. Then maybe it is marketing's fault. Okay, so that helps a lot. And then the last piece, Matthew, is on the sales side. Because, that's our job. If we've quarter over quarter or quarter, have converted 57% of MQLs to SQLs, and all of a sudden, one quarter that drops to 39. Well, what happened? Did we still, call them frequently, call them quickly, call them and reach out with the personalization that's required? I can inspect that. And so we have guidelines on how that needs to happen as well. Now, all this moves into what we like to call a sales and marketing service level agreement, or SLA. I think we're used to the word SLA in like IT. Like, hey, AWS says, we promise you your server is going to be up 99.999%. Well, that's what this is. This is a sales service level agreement between folks. So hopefully that gives you some guidance. Really tactical on how to do it. Step 1, get sales and marketing in a room together. It's usually the leaders. Step 2, define how much of the pipeline and revenue is going to come from marketing and how much is going to come from sales. Step 3, that allows you to calculate how many MQLs and define that MQL appropriately. And step 4, sales doesn't get off the hook. They need to follow up frequently, quickly, with a high degree of personalization, and we define that. And then the final step is like reflect at the end of the quarter. And if you miss or exceeded, it's because something was off from that forecast, and it's non-negotiable, and you can't argue about it. And then lastly, you come to the end of the quarter and you either missed or exceeded, and you know exactly why. And the SLA, the service level agreement between sales and marketing, holds it all together. Hope that answers your question. These are great. Thanks so much.
Whether you're a new or loyal listener, I have a strong feeling you're interested in scaling a company's revenue and sales. And if I'm right, I have the perfect podcast recommendation for you. The chart-topping entrepreneurship podcast, Think Big, Buy Small. Produced by Harvard Business School, this weekly show explores an innovative approach to entrepreneurship, acquisition entrepreneurship. That's where you buy an enduringly profitable small business and then become the CEO, rather than trying to start a business from scratch. Each episode, HBS professors Richard Ruback and Royce Yudkoff provide a roadmap of the acquisition through entrepreneurship journey, including determining if this path is right for them, sourcing and evaluating prospects, raising the capital, and so much more. Elevate your entrepreneurship. Follow Think Big, Buy Small, wherever you get your podcasts.